guys, Jess here. So this is just a skewer that I'm holding up close to show you the sticky masking fluid on the end of my skewer. Such an awkward place to start, but unfortunately my camera didn't record the actual process of me using masking fluid. So let me explain what is happening. I hand drew some flowers in pots, as you can sort of see down below, and then I used this masking fluid here, which basically is a blocker to watercolor paints. I then, when this dries, I'm then going to put watercolor paints on top, and anywhere the masking fluid is, the watercolor paints cannot go. So that one was pretty much almost dry. This one you can sort of see is a lot shinier or whiter, hasn't gone so yellow yet, and it's not dry. And I had such fine details that I chose to not use a paintbrush, but to use that skewer to put the masking fluid on. You can use a paintbrush, but it can also ruin paintbrushes, if that makes sense. It's quite sticky, and it can sort of go hard in your brush. So if you start doing the watercolor too soon, this will also happen. What you can do, I didn't do this myself, but what you can do is just get a little bit of dishwashing liquid, also soap, and put that over the brush ends and down onto the silver part just a little bit, so that when you stick your brush into the masking fluid, it's a really runny surface to just have that masking fluid run straight off the end. I found using the skewer worked perfectly fine for me. It was fiddly. This took time. It was not a super quick and easy process for me, but this was literally my first time of ever doing it. So in having said that, it was not that hard, meaning I didn't practice beforehand. I didn't just get some scrap paper and give it a go first. I just jumped straight in and went for it and was really happy with the results. I am using watercolor paper, and I've cut them down to 3x4 size. So these are going to be little mini Project Life cards that Katie can use as filler cards inside her Project Life albums. So I've done 6 of them, and I just go ahead with a cheap watercolor palette just from my local $2 shop, filling in bits and pieces with the watercolors. I don't color it perfectly. I want the when I take off the masking fluid, I want it to be really obvious that there's those sort of white parts showing through. So I just have a bit of a play, mixing the colors together, deliberately sort of trying to color out of the lines, I guess, is a way to explain it, so that the white will really shine through. Oh, you could see there my brush was sticking a little bit. It meant the masking fluid wasn't completely dry, so that will have got stuck onto the end of my brush, and I probably go and wash it off with some warm water in a sec, just to make using the brush a little bit easier, because it sort of starts to clump at the end. So yeah, masking fluid is relatively easy to clean up. It is just to clean up with warm water. I did have to sort of pick with my fingernails to get any masking fluid off the end of the brush, which is not ideal if you're using a really, really nice, expensive brush. This one is not. I don't actually own a super expensive brush, so I'm lucky in that way, but I definitely wouldn't recommend using your best brush with masking fluid, and I wouldn't recommend doing it with your watercolors if you're not 100% sure you've left long enough for your masking fluid to dry. So I'm just busily painting away. They all look very, very similar because they're all plants and they're all got green bits on them. So sorry if this is a little bit boring. I never know how much people want to see of what I'm doing and how much they'd rather just slip to the end now and see the finished product. Very soon, I'm just about done. I think I've got maybe 1 or 2 more. I will show you the process of getting the masking fluid off the cards. There are basically 2 ways to do it. You can just rub with your finger, or you can get basically an eraser and rub it off with an eraser, or even like a normal elastic band wrapped around the end of a pencil just to give it a bit of a rub with. It can, if you had a huge surface to try and rub off, it probably could get a little bit too much friction on the end of your finger and start to hurt you a little. But I had no drama with the 6 Project Life cards that I was rubbing down. So yeah, I get super, super excited once these are dry about wanting to rub off the masking fluid to see what it looks like, because as I said, this was my very first time doing it and I want to see how they look. So I think I've still got maybe 1 or 2 more to go. 2 more to go, sorry, 2 more to go. So I drew these myself with grey lead. So let me think back to the process properly. I had a look at some images on Pinterest that I thought were really cute. Then I drew these. I cut down a big A3 size piece of watercolor paper into 6 pieces of 4x6 card that is about the size to go into Project Life albums. I didn't round the corners because I wasn't sure if Katie did round corners or not round corners, so she can if she wants to later. Pretty sure she doesn't round the corners. I then hand drew all these images on with grey lead, and then straight over top of the grey lead using a pointy-ended wooden skewer. I just dipped that straight into the masking fluid, let some of the big drops fall off the end, and then carefully dragged my skewer, just like a pen or a pencil or a paintbrush, along the grey lead lines. Sometimes if I wasn't too careful, a big sort of blob came off the end of masking fluid and it was hard to sort of run that liquid along. But in general, it worked pretty well using the skewer. I think I needed the skewer because I needed such a pointed tip on the end. So if you had a super small brush and you tried coating it with the soap liquid, that would probably be fine. So here I am. I'm actually on the floor of the bathroom. My son is having a bath, but I was super excited. I really wanted to rub this off and see what it looked like. So as you can see, I'm just using my fingers and I'm just rub. And it makes like this big stringy mess of rubber goodness. And that was the first one finished. And then this next one, I don't know why this seems so fast. It seems so much faster than normal, but I've only done it times 2. Sorry if this is making you vertigo. See how stringy it is, how stretchy it is? That's the sort of the the rubberness. Oh my gosh, I cannot speak, of what happens to the masking fluid once it dries. So I do that to all 6 of the little guys that I make. This is sort of the leftover scrap that you end up with. It's like elastic band almost. And now I decided I didn't like how it looked with the white. You couldn't see, the image wasn't clear enough, I guess. I probably needed more watercolor paint on there or something, I don't know. So I'm now just going over it with a texter. So after all that work, I'm now just drawing over it with a texter anyway. But I'm really happy with how these cards turn out. I think they look really super, super cute. So now I'm just going to go ahead on all 6 of these and redraw over all the fine details. So you can still see the white behind, which is cool. And then obviously the watercolors all there, and they look really super cute. And after I finish doing all 6 of these, I decide it still is missing something. It's still lacking a little bit in, I don't know, grab your attention or pizzazz or however you want to word it. So I think it needs something else. So I get the gold pen. I think that's a gold one, not a silver one. I'm just checking. And I just do some highlights on a few things, like different things on different of the pictures. So on this one, I'm colouring the leaves in gold just to give them a little bit of a sparkle. And on each one, I just do something else. I don't do the same thing on them all. Then once I've done all of that, I pop them in a box and then I just spritz some gold Heidi Shine over them and they are done. So this is the one you saw with the gold pen and the black outline, but these are the finished off of the other ones. And I just am so happy with the way they turned out. You obviously don't need to use masking fluid in the way I've ended up doing it. I could have just drawn them on with black texture in the first place, but I love how there is that sort of break of stark white showing through from the background, which is just really, really cool. So I hope you liked this video and maybe it's something you'll give a try as well. Thanks, guys.